182, roger.
And this is...
Follow down to 530 Kilo, ready for taxi, close traffic, X-ray, and we're going to 8.
That's my 5353 Kilo, Caldwell ground, standby.
So Kilo, taxi runway 28 via Papa November, winds 34010, gust 15.
As I was buying some coffee, I looked out of the window from within the airport at the Boeing 747 I will be flying to Alaska. Today was a bit chilly, but you wouldn't have to look outside to know that. Businessmen and women and vacation travelers all dressed in their jackets as they were proactively walking about and getting to their respective terminals to finally take a seat or to make it just in time to board their flight. Don't ask me how many flights I've flown, for I have been a pilot for just over 7 years now. That may not seem like a lot to some people, but trust me, it has felt even shorter for me. The years have passed by so fast. The only way I can come to the realization of how many years have passed is if I look at my daughter. My daughter is 5 years old, and it brings a warm smile to my face once I return from work to see her and my wife Sarah. My daughter's name is Ashley, and when I look at her, you can tell she took most of her traits from her mother. Her thick blonde hair and her dimples prevalent even at her young age is enough to make me stop and think about her from time to time. In fact, it's distracted me enough I didn't even hear the coffee lady ask if I was ready to order or not. Once I ordered and received the coffee cup, I went to pour some honey in it. Why not make it a bit sweeter, I thought to myself. As the honey seeped out of the container, the golden oak-like color of the honey reminded me of the skin tone of my wife Sarah. About 7 months ago, the three of us took a vacation to Dubrovnik in southern Croatia. I remember telling her as we were enjoying some time out on the shore amongst the cliffs that she already has a natural tan, and I'm the one that needs to get some sun. The memory of her coming up and breaking the surface of the Adriatic Sea, and the water dripping down her to make her synthetic-like skin glimmer from the European sun to reveal evidence of some water droplets retained on her collarbones. My playful daughter, next to me, splashing some water that just came to shore in which she was able to trap with the sand by building some type of improvised pool. If I start having memories like this by just looking at some honey being poured into a cup of coffee, it makes me wonder what I would think if somebody placed a Rubik's Cube in front of me. Maybe this attention to detail is why I love being a pilot. In fact, I paid so much attention on the memory of our vacation last summer, I didn't even notice Jacob standing right in front of me. "Hey Kevin, you about ready?" Jacob asked me. Jacob is my co-pilot for this flight to Alaska. "Sure thing. Let's get to it," I said to him. I have known Jacob for about 3 years now. He is around my age and he has just as much interest in aviation as I do. Very upbeat, pleasant person to work with. And that's something you need when you're a pilot. When nearly all the passengers are in a rush and sigh every time there is a few-minute delay due to a minor circumstance, or the hours it may take for a flight to finally get to its destination, a little optimism can go a long way. As we entered the cockpit, I heard over the radio of a maintenance personnel, though I wasn't paying much attention, something about a construction worker looking for a misplaced ball-peen hammer. He was working on one of the metal doors connecting to the airport itself. 15 minutes later, the first wave of passengers were coming to take their seats. As I was greeting the passengers, in came this adorable little girl with her mother, both with big smiles on their faces. The kid looked up at me and I said, "Well, hello there. Is this your first flight?" Her mom laughed and said no. I asked her how old she was when she had her first plane ride.
1.
Wow, 1 year old is when you had your first plane ride? Well, you're already a pro at this then. Do you want to be a pilot when you grow up? She said no, and instead she says,
Become president?
President? That's great. I'll vote for you. What makes you want to become president?
So I eat all the candy I want?
That's a great reason. Her mother then says, "Tell him it's almost your birthday." Is that true? I say to the little girl. It's almost your birthday? What do you want for your birthday?
Pet alligator.
A pet alligator. Well, that's great. I'll make sure to make a quick stop to Florida before we head to Alaska, I jokingly exclaimed. Once the plane was finally loaded, we were taxied over to the runway. The first one in line for takeoff. Perfect, Jacob said. As we were in the air, I noticed we would be getting some turbulence, and since there were a number of kids, including one of them being our future president, I'd let the passengers know. We should be landing in Anchorage a little bit past 1 in the morning. Maybe not the most ideal time, but one thing is good about evening flights is that they are usually on time. We were in the air for about an hour and a half, and there was a knock on the door. One of the flight attendants comes in just to see how we're doing. She said this little girl asked for some pretzels, and it broke her heart to say that we ran out of them. I said, "Oh, I think I talked to her before the flight." I grabbed some pretzels from my bag I brought from the previous flight. "Here, you can give her these 2 bags of pretzels. Tell her it's the best I can do for our future president." The flight attendant smiled and said thank you, after chatting it up for about 5 minutes. As we were over the Pacific Ocean, I noticed Jacob was looking outside of the window, down towards the ocean. He says to me, "Do you ever get that sensation of jumping off of a ledge when you're peering over it? Do you ever feel as though that there's something pushing you?" "I actually do feel that very often," I told him. I didn't admit to him, though, that I have a bit of a fear of heights. Yes, I know, even though I'm a pilot, I just never really looked out the windows very much. Then Jacob had said, "Doesn't it ever dawn on you that we are in control of almost 300 lives at this very moment? Isn't it crazy how important we are? And if we ever were to become compromised at any point, who else would be in charge? Who would take control of this flight?" I then said to him, "Yes, it's quite humbling to think that at this very time we are important to everyone's life, even when I haven't had much of a conversation with most of them." Jacob then said to me, "They will get a wake-up call sooner or later, and they will see how fragile their life can be." I said jokingly to him, "Oh, come on now, I'm sure they understand it more than they understand their own job. Some people go to work and pretend to know what they're doing." I just had to joke around with Jacob a little bit, and I said, "I wish I knew what every single button in this cockpit did. I only know the important ones." He laughed and said, "Yes, you only care about getting home to see your family." I told him it does motivate me. I knew Jacob didn't really understand much of what having a family is like. He is single and never married and doesn't have kids. Doesn't really talk about his parents or if he has any brothers or sisters either. I don't understand why he doesn't have a wife or kid. He seems like a really cool guy. But if that's what he prefers, I'll leave him to it. He said he was going to use the bathroom in the back and get some more snacks from the cart. I asked him to bring me something since I gave away my snacks. As he left, I started thinking about what he said about the other passengers' lives depending so much on us. I mean, sure, I have thought about it before, and it's an obvious statement that the pilot is very important. But the sequence in which Jacob brought up, jumping off of a high place and how every passenger on board this plane takes their life for granted. Moments later, he opens the door, and as I turn my head back forward, I feel a forceful hit in the back of my neck. I let out this dull cry, like someone took a rock and hit my neck. I feel something press against me on the bottom of my skull, pushing me forward. Jake. As I stuttered Jacob's name, I felt another impact on my neck, and multiple hits afterwards in the same place. My jaw is then grabbed, and Jacob turns my head towards him. He says to me, "You're like every other person in this flight. You don't care about your job. You know you'll be going back home to a family. You're just like all the filth that has been loaded into this plane," he says assertively. My mind is so numb to what's going on, I try to calm him down. "Jacob, easy. Everything is fine. Just talk to me." I look down at his hand and I see a ball-peen hammer. So that's what that was. That hit me in the back of the neck. As I tried to reach for his arm to prevent him doing anything else with the ball-peen hammer, I just couldn't move. I felt some numbing sensation after I tried moving. I can't use my arms. I can't even move my hips. I can't believe it, I thought to myself. I'm paralyzed. Or is this just fear? No. I can't move. I can't even feel the rest of my body. Jacob says to me, "You're a good man. I know you're a good father. But you'll have to depart this world. Your daughter will be raised even better, as she will have to live her life without you. I bet she is old enough to remember little memories here and there about the two of you," Jacob said to me. "And I'm sure your wife will miss you dearly." I said to him, "Jacob, stop. There are hundreds of people on this plane, children with a future, and you will not hurt them. There are thousands that will be affected by this if you carry this out. You have to stop, Jacob. You will not get anything out of this. I can be your friend. I can work with you on whatever it is that's upsetting you," I desperately tried to explain to him. He reached over to the controls and started accelerating the aircraft, deviating from the course. I can tell the airplane started to shake more violently. I tried asking him why he was doing this, but either from the noise of the airplane engines accelerating or maybe I was speaking too quietly. I don't know, maybe he just didn't hear me or care to acknowledge. He took the controls and we were turning left, further and further left, till we were on our side. At this point, I heard people in the cabin frantically shouting. They could probably see a dark body of ocean out the windows to the left, and everyone on the right side of the airplane that was not in a seatbelt is probably starting to fall over their armrest and onto the left side of the airplane. Jacob then shouted to me, "No matter if somebody were to come in here and stop me now, I was able to plant explosives in the back of the airplane." He smiled after he said that. He then said, "It's going to happen, Kevin. No way to stop it." He then left the cockpit as I was paralyzed in my seat. All I could do was try to talk on the radio. It looks like he might have turned off the transponder.
Flight 327, implied
Well,
emergency.
I tried talking into the radio anyways, but I didn't get a response.
Possible explosions on
Where did he go?
Repeat, cannot move.
As I sat there, helpless, a tear started rolling down the right side of my cheek. I could hear kids screaming in the cabin. Why did this happen? And is Jacob in the cabin with them, just laughing in his glory? What made this man do what he just did? As I asked myself that question, an explosion interrupted my thoughts. He wasn't lying. We are really going down.